The millionaire pretends to be a guard for his fiancée and changes because of the black beggar woman. Serena Vandergelt, trust fund baby extraordinaire, living in a Manhattan penthouse so high up you could practically touch the clouds. Life was all champagne wishes and caviar dreams. Right? Wrong. After her mom passed, the sparkle faded. Parties, galas, dates with guys who only saw dollar signs, it all felt empty. Then there was Jake. Jake, the carpenter, all rugged charm and calloused hands, building a gazebo at her dad's Cape Cod estate. Rumors whispered about him, secrets hidden behind those kind eyes. Serena couldn't resist. She had to know. Crazy idea? Absolutely. Serena, socialite princess, going undercover as Sarah, a security guard. Picture this, her in a drab uniform, trying to blend in with the real guards in Barnstable, Massachusetts. Total fish out of water. First shift, patrolling the Vandergelt beachfront property. Ocean breeze, $1,000,000 view, and there he was. Jake, hammering away at that gazebo, muscles rippling in the sun. He looked like he belonged there. She needed to talk to him. Get close. Find out what he was hiding. But then, bam! Chaos on the beach. A woman, old and black, clothes ripped and dirty, was arguing with another guard. Trespassing, they said. But this wasn't just any homeless lady. She called herself Miss Evangeline, and she had this presence. Like he knew things, secrets. She started talking about the Vandergelts, about dark secrets buried deep in their history. Her eyes locked on Serena. "The truth always finds a way, son," she said, then looked right at Jake, even in disguise. Before Serena could react, Jake gently escorted Miss Evangeline off the property, but not before Miss Evangeline gave Jake this look, this knowing, almost conspiratorial look. Back in the guardhouse, Serena's head was spinning. Who was Miss Evangeline? Was she connected to Jake? And what did she mean, in disguise? Did he know? Had he seen through her ridiculous charade all along? This wasn't some game anymore. This was real and dangerous. The answers she was looking for? They might come at a price she wasn't ready to pay. The ocean roared outside, mirroring the storm brewing inside her. Maybe she wasn't hunting Jake. Maybe she was the one being hunted. But by whom? And why? Ei, antes de continuarmos com essa história incrível, preciso te fazer um alerta importante. Muitos inscritos têm relatado que o YouTube removeu suas inscrições sem aviso. Dá só uma conferida rápida no botão vermelho aí embaixo para garantir que você ainda está inscrito no canal. Não quero que você perca nenhum conteúdo exclusivo que vem por aí. E já que você está aí, deixa aquele like poderoso que me ajuda muito com o algoritmo. Ah, e me conta nos comentários, de qual cidade você está assistindo. Adoro conhecer cada pessoa incrível que faz parte dessa comunidade. Sua participação faz toda a diferença. Vamos interagir. Back in the guardhouse, Serena's head was spinning. Who was Miss Evangeline? Was she connected to Jake? And what did she mean, in disguise? Did he know? Had he seen through her ridiculous charade all along? This wasn't some game anymore. This was real and dangerous. The answers she was looking for, they might come at a price she wasn't ready to pay. The ocean roared outside, mirroring the storm brewing inside her. Maybe she wasn't hunting Jake. Maybe she was the one being hunted. But by whom? And why? She paced the tiny guardhouse, the drab uniform suddenly feeling like a spotlight. Disguise indeed. She grabbed her phone, ready to call her dad, to spill everything. But then a flicker. The lights went out. Total blackout. Serena froze. Okay, probably just a power surge. Happens all the time. Right? Wrong. The door burst open. Not kicked, not forced. Opened smoothly, silently, like someone had a key. Standing in the doorway, bathed in the faint moonlight, was Jake. Only it wasn't Jake. Not the Jake she'd seen hammering at the gazebo. The Jake with the shy smile. This Jake had ice in his eyes. "Serena," he said, his voice low and gravelly, not the warm, friendly tone she knew. "Or should I call you Sarah?" She didn't answer, couldn't answer. Fear had lodged itself in her throat like a jagged stone. He stepped into the guardhouse, and behind him she saw her, Miss Evangeline. No longer ragged and dirty, but dressed in a sharp, expensive-looking suit. "Surprised, darling?" Miss Evangeline said, a cruel smile playing on her lips. Serena shook her head, trying to make sense of the impossible. What's going on? Who are you people?" Jake chuckled, a chilling sound. "We're the people who are tired of being played, Serena. Tired of the Vandergelt's lies and secrets." Then he moved, fast. Before Serena could even scream, he grabbed her arm, pulling her roughly towards him. "You really thought you could just waltz in here, play undercover guard, and figure us out?" he hissed. "You really thought we wouldn't notice?" Miss Evangeline stepped closer, her eyes gleaming. "Your family stole everything from us, Serena. Land, money, our very lives. Now it's time to pay the piper." Serena struggled, but Jake's grip was like iron. She looked from Jake to Miss Evangeline, desperately searching for an explanation, some sign that this was all a horrible mistake. That's when she saw it. A small, intricately carved wooden box in Miss Evangeline's hand. A box that looked exactly like the one her mother had always kept hidden in her closet. The one her mother had told her never, ever to touch. "That box! Where did you get that?" Serena gasped. Miss Evangeline's smile widened. "From your mother, darling. Before your father took care of her." The words hit Serena like a physical blow. Took care of her? What did she mean? And then Jake spoke again, his voice barely a whisper, but filled with a chilling intensity. "Your mother knew too much, Serena. She was going to expose everything. So, Daddy dearest had to silence her." Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The rumors about her father, the hushed whispers, the secrets hidden behind closed doors. Her father, he hadn't just been a successful businessman. He'd been a monster. But the shock didn't end there. Jake released her arm, stepping back, his expression suddenly softening. "I'm sorry, Serena," he said, his voice regaining a hint of its former warmth. "I never wanted this to happen to you, but I had no choice. I am your brother." Serena's world tilted on its axis. Brother? He couldn't be her brother. Miss Evangeline placed a hand on Jake's shoulder, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and determination. "He's telling the truth, child. Your father, he had many secrets. Jake is your half-brother, and we are here to finally expose the truth. He's telling the truth, child. Your father, he had many secrets. Jake is your half-brother, and we are here to finally expose the truth. Half-brother? The world swam. Serena felt like she was going to throw up. This was too much. No, she choked out, shaking her head. It's not true. You're lying. Jake stepped closer, his eyes pleading. Serena, please. I know this is a lot to take in, but it's the truth. Miss Evangeline, she's been protecting me my whole life. My mother, she worked for your family. Your father, he trailed off, his jaw clenching. He didn't treat her well. Evangeline nodded, her gaze hard. He stole my land, my livelihood. He ruined my family. And then he turned his back on Jake's mother when she needed him most. Serena stared at them, trying to piece it all together. Her father, the man she'd always looked up to, a monster? And Jake, her brother? It was insane. But then Evangeline held out the wooden box. Serena knew that box. The intricate carvings, the worn edges. It was definitely her mother's. Inside this box, Evangeline said, her voice low and steady, is the evidence, proof of everything your father did, proof of his crimes. Serena reached out, her fingers trembling as she took the box. It felt heavy in her hands, like it held the weight of all their secrets. She hesitated, then slowly, carefully, lifted the lid. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, were papers, old documents, photographs, and a small, tarnished silver locket. Serena picked up the locket, her fingers tracing the inscription. It was her mother's name, with a date she didn't recognize underneath. Suddenly, a sharp pain exploded in her head. Serena cried out, dropping the locket, clutching her temples. Images flashed behind her eyes, her mother younger, laughing, her father yelling, furious, a shadowy figure lurking in the darkness. "What's happening to me?" she screamed. Then everything went black. When Serena woke up, she was lying on the floor of the guardhouse, the wooden box beside her. Jake and Evangeline were gone. The only sound was the relentless crashing of the waves against the shore. She sat up, her head throbbing. The memories, they were still there, swirling around in her mind. Fragments of the past she'd never known. Her mother, her father, Jake, Evangeline. But something was different. Something felt wrong. She looked down at her hands. They were shaking, but not from fear, from anticipation. She stood up, feeling the strange surge of power coursing through her veins. The guardhouse felt small, confining. She needed to get out. She didn't know what she needed to do, but she knew she had to do it. She stumbled outside, blinking in the moonlight. The ocean stretched out before her, vast and mysterious. And then she saw it, a figure standing on the beach, silhouetted against the water. Jake. But as she got closer, she realized it wasn't Jake. It was someone else, someone familiar, her father. He turned to face her, and Serena gasped. His eyes, they were cold, empty, soulless. "Serena," he said, his voice a low growl that sent shivers down her spine. "I was wondering when you'd wake up." What's going on?" she stammered, taking a step back. "Where's Jake? Where's Evangeline?" Her father smiled, a cruel, unsettling smile. "They serve their purpose. Now it's time for you to fulfill yours." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small and silver. Serena's heart leaped into her throat. It was the locket, the one from the box. "You see, Serena," her father continued, his voice dripping with malice. "You're not just a Vandergelt. You're something more, something special." He held out the locket towards her, his eyes gleaming in the moonlight. "Put it on, Serena," he commanded, "and embrace your destiny." Serena stared at the locket, her mind reeling. What was going on? What was she supposed to do? Then she looked at her father's eyes again, and she saw it. A flicker of something dark and ancient lurking beneath the surface. Something inhuman. And suddenly, she knew. Her father wasn't just a monster. He was something else entirely. Something not of this world. And she was his heir. He held out the locket towards her, his eyes gleaming in the moonlight. "Put it on, Serena," he commanded, "and embrace your destiny." Serena stared at the locket, her mind reeling. What was going on? What was she supposed to do? Then she looked at her father's eyes again, and she saw it. A flicker of something dark and ancient, lurking beneath the surface. Something inhuman. And suddenly, she knew. Her father wasn't just a monster. He was something else entirely. Something not of this world. And she was his heir. But destiny? Heir to what? Her hand trembled as she reached for the locket. It was cold, almost radiating a chilling energy. He wanted her to put it on. Why? What would happen? No, something was screaming inside her head. Don't do it. I don't understand, she stammered, trying to buy time. What do you mean, my destiny? His smile widened, and it was a truly terrifying sight. You're more like me than you know, Serena. We Vandergelts, we're not entirely human. We have ancient blood in our veins, a power that has been passed down through generations. Ancient blood? Not human? Was this some kind of crazy fantasy? That's insane, she cried. You're crazy! His eyes flashed, and for a moment, Serena thought he might strike her. But then the smile returned, even more unsettling than before. Denial is a common first reaction, he said softly. But you can't deny what you are, Serena. It's in your blood. It's calling to you. He held the locket closer, and Serena could feel its pull, a strange hypnotic force that was trying to draw her in. It felt like something was waking up inside her, a dormant power that was eager to be unleashed. Just put it on, Serena. Embrace your heritage. We can rule this world together. We can have everything we've ever wanted. Rule the world? Was that what this was all about? Power? No, Serena said, her voice trembling but firm. I don't want any of this. I want nothing to do with you. His smile vanished. You disappoint me, Serena. I thought you were stronger than this. I thought you were worthy. He took a step closer, and Serena could feel the darkness radiating off him. A palpable wave of evil that threatened to overwhelm her. And then, everything changed. A blood-curdling scream ripped through the night. It wasn't Serena. It wasn't her father. It was Jake. He came crashing out of the woods, his face contorted in pain, his eyes wide with terror. He was being dragged, pulled by something unseen, something invisible. "Serena! Run!" he screamed, his voice hoarse. "He's not who you think he is. He's possessed." Possessed? What was he talking about? Her father turned to Jake, his eyes blazing with fury. "Traitor!" he roared. He raised his hand, and Jake was suddenly lifted into the air, his body twisting and contorting in unnatural ways. He was screaming, a sound that would haunt Serena for the rest of her life. And then, with a sickening crack, his body went limp. He fell to the ground, lifeless. Serena stared in horror, her mind unable to process what she had just witnessed. Jake? Dead? Killed by her own father? But then she saw it. Something was emerging from Jake's body, a dark, swirling mass of energy that was slowly dissipating into the night air. And as the last of it faded away, Serena realized what it was. It was the same darkness that she had seen in her father's eyes, the same inhuman presence that had been lurking beneath the surface. It had been possessing Jake, but now it was gone. And in that moment, Serena understood everything. Her father wasn't just possessed, he was a vessel, a host for something ancient and evil. And Jake, he had been trying to protect her from her own father, from her own destiny. But it was too late. Her father turned back to her, his eyes now glowing with an unholy light. "Now, Serena," he said, his voice no longer his own. "It's time. Put on the locket and become what you were meant to be." He held out the locket again, and this time Serena didn't resist. She reached for it, her fingers trembling, her mind racing. Was this her destiny? To become a monster like her father? Or was there still a way to stop him? She didn't know, but she knew one thing for sure. Everything had changed, and nothing would ever be the same again. He held out the locket again, and this time Serena didn't resist. She reached for it, her fingers trembling, her mind racing. Was this her destiny? To become a monster like her father? Or was there still a way to stop him? She didn't know, but she knew one thing for sure. Everything had changed, and nothing would ever be the same again. Her fingers brushed the cold metal. It hummed, a low thrum against her skin, like a sleeping beast waking up. She looked at her father, at the thing wearing his face. His eyes glittered, hungry, waiting. She lifted the locket. It felt heavy, wrong. But a part of her, a dark, whispering voice, urged her on. Do it. Embrace it. And then she heard a voice, a soft, familiar voice. "Serena, don't!" She whipped her head around. Standing at the edge of the beach, barely visible in the moonlight, was her mother. Her mother. But that was impossible. Her mother was dead. "Mom?" Serena whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "Is that really you?" The figure stepped closer, and Serena could see her face clearly now. It was her mother, but younger, healthier, glowing with a faint, ethereal light. "Don't put it on, Serena," her mother said, her voice filled with urgency. "It's a trap. He'll control you." Her father snarled. "Lies! She's trying to deceive you. Don't listen to her." "He killed you," Serena screamed, turning back to her father. "He murdered you." "Accidents happen," he said, his voice dismissive. "Don't let her fill your head with nonsense. We belong together, Serena. We're the same." "No, we're not," Serena cried, clutching the locket in her hand. "I'm not like you." You'll never be free of me, her father hissed, taking a step closer. It's in your blood. Serena looked from her father to her mother, her heart torn in two. Who should she believe? And then her mother did something that shocked her to her core. She reached into her pocket and pulled out something small and silver. A locket, exactly like the one Serena was holding. He lied to you, Serena, her mother said, her voice clear and strong. There's more to the story than you know. She opened her locket, and Serena gasped. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, was a picture. A picture of a young woman holding a baby. The baby was Serena, but the woman wasn't her mother. Who is that? Serena whispered, her voice trembling. Her mother took a deep breath. That, Serena, is your real mother. The world tilted on its axis. Real mother? What was she talking about? I'm not your daughter? Serena stammered. Her mother shook her head. No, darling. I was just your protector. I promised her I would keep you safe. Protect me from what? From who? Her mother looked at her father, her eyes filled with hatred. From him. He hunted her for years. He wanted you for his own twisted purposes. Serena stared at her father, horror washing over her. You knew? You knew I wasn't your daughter? He laughed, a cold, heartless sound. Of course I knew. I needed you, Serena. You were the key. The key to what? To unlocking the power that's been dormant in me for centuries, he said, his eyes gleaming. Your blood, Serena. It's special. It's the only thing that can break the chains that bind me. Serena felt sick. All this time, she had thought she knew him. She had thought he was just a cold, ruthless businessman. But he was so much worse. He was a monster. So you're not really a Vandergelt? Serena gasped. You just married my mom to use me. I didn't even marry her for love. I married her for power, for the Vandergelt fortune, and ultimately, for you. He laughed, a sound like nails on a chalkboard. She was merely a pawn, just as you were meant to be. Serena stepped back, knocking against something hard. Looking down, she saw it was the wooden box, the one Evangeline had given her. Suddenly she knew what she had to do. She had to open the box. She had to find out the truth. But as she reached for the lid, her father lunged at her, his eyes blazing with fury. No, he roared. You won't open that box. It's too dangerous. He grabbed her arm, his grip like iron. She struggled, but he was too strong. And then everything went black. But through the darkness, Serena saw a vision of a young woman running through a forest, clutching a baby in her arms. The woman was terrified, her eyes filled with fear. She was being hunted. And then Serena saw a face she knew. Evangeline. Evangeline was the woman in the forest. Evangeline was her real mother. And Jake? Jake wasn't her brother. Jake was her protector. But now, they were both gone. And she was alone, with a monster. But as she opened her eyes, she knew one thing. She wasn't alone anymore. She had a new purpose. She had to find Evangeline. She had to find out the truth. And she had to stop her father, no matter what it took. She thrashed, trying to break free. He was too strong, but she wouldn't give up. Not now. Not ever. Suddenly, A voice. Not her mother's, not her father's. A new voice, inside her head. Clear, strong, resonant. You are not alone, Serena. The voice echoed in her mind, pushing back against the darkness. It was a warm voice, full of love and power. A voice she somehow knew, deep down. And then, she understood. It wasn't just a voice. It was a presence, a protector, a guardian. The power surged through her, filling her with a strength she never knew she possessed. She threw her head back and screamed, a primal scream that shook the beach to its core. Her father stumbled back, clutching his ears. The darkness in his eyes flickered, confused. He looked at her, fear creeping into his expression. "What's happening?" he stammered. Serena smiled, a chilling smile that mirrored his own. "I'm not alone anymore, Dad," she said, her voice laced with a power that wasn't hers. She raised her hand, and the locket flew from her grasp, hovering in the air between them. It began to glow, a blinding light that banished the darkness from the beach. Her father recoiled, shielding his eyes. "No, it can't be," he cried. The light intensified, and Serena felt a tingling sensation spreading through her body. It was like she was being reborn, cleansed of all the darkness that had clung to her for so long. And then the locket shattered, not into pieces, but into pure energy, a wave of light that washed over her, over the beach, over the entire world. And in that moment, Serena saw everything. She saw the truth behind the lies, the secrets hidden in the shadows, the ancient power that had been lurking beneath the surface. And she understood her destiny. She wasn't just a Vandergelt. She wasn't just a pawn in her father's game. She was something else entirely. She was the key, but not the key to unlocking his power, the key to destroying it. She opened her eyes, and her father gasped. He saw the truth in her gaze, the power that now radiated from her. "No!" he screamed. "It's not possible!" He lunged at her, his hand outstretched, trying to stop her. But it was too late. Serena raised her hand, and a bolt of pure energy shot from her fingertips, striking her father square in the chest. He screamed, a horrifying sound that echoed through the night. His body began to convulse, writhing in agony. And then he exploded, not literally, but into a million pieces. Pieces of darkness, pieces of pain, pieces of lies. The darkness dissipated, the pain faded away, and the lies crumbled to dust. And then there was silence. Serena stood on the beach, panting, her body trembling with exhaustion. The power had drained her, leaving her weak and vulnerable. But she was alive, and she was free. Or so she thought. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Evangeline. But she wasn't the ragged, homeless woman Serena remembered. She was dressed in elegant clothes, her face radiating with a serene beauty. "It's over, Serena," Evangeline said, her voice soft and gentle. "You've done it." Serena smiled, relief washing over her. "It's really over?" she whispered. Evangeline nodded. "Yes, child, you've saved us all." Serena stepped towards her, eager to embrace her. But then she saw something in Evangeline's eyes, something cold, something calculating. And then Evangeline smiled, a cruel, unsettling smile. "But you see, Serena," she said, her voice suddenly changing, becoming harsh and raspy. Saving you was never the point. Destroying him was simply a means to an end. Serena froze, fear gripping her heart. What do you mean? Evangeline chuckled. Don't you see, child? He wasn't the only one with ancient blood in his veins. He wasn't the only one who craved power. He was merely a puppet. And now that he's gone, she paused, her eyes gleaming with malice. It's my turn. Evangeline held out her hand, and a ball of dark energy began to form in her palm. It was the same energy that had possessed Jake, the same energy that Serena had just destroyed. But this time, it was different. This time, it was stronger, more powerful. And Serena realized the horrifying truth. Evangeline hadn't been trying to protect her. She had been trying to use her. She had been waiting for the right moment to seize the power for herself. And now, that moment had arrived. I'm sorry, Serena, Evangeline said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. But this is my destiny, and I can't let you stand in my way. Serena stared at her, her mind reeling. She had been betrayed, used, manipulated, but she wasn't going to give up. Not now. Not ever. I won't let you do this, Evangeline, she said, her voice trembling but firm. I'll stop you. Evangeline laughed. You stop me? You're just a child. You don't know anything about the power I wield. Maybe not, Serena said, her eyes blazing with defiance. But I know one thing. I won't let you destroy this world. She raised her hand, and a new wave of energy surged through her, stronger than before. It was the power of her ancestors, the power of her protectors, the power of her own will. And she knew in that moment that she was ready. She was ready to fight. She was ready to die. But she wouldn't let Evangeline win. She wouldn't let the darkness consume the world. She was Serena Vandergelt, and she was the only one who could stop her. As Serena prepared to unleash her power, ready to confront the woman she now knew was her greatest enemy, Evangeline suddenly smiled, a knowing, almost pitying expression on her face. Oh, Serena, she sighed, her voice dripping with a sadness that seemed impossibly real. You think you know the whole story, don't you? You think you've uncovered all the secrets, faced all the darkness. But, my dear, you haven't even scratched the surface. You have no idea what's truly at stake. Before Serena could react, Evangeline raised her other hand, the one that had been concealed behind her back, and revealed what she held there. It wasn't a weapon, nor another ball of dark energy, but something far more shocking. A photograph. An old, faded photograph. Serena gasped as she recognized the image. It was a picture of her mother, the woman she believed had raised her, standing beside a man she had never seen before. The man wasn't her father. He had gentle eyes, a kind smile, and there was an undeniable resemblance to Serena herself. Who is that? Serena stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Evangeline's smile widened, but this time it wasn't cruel or menacing. It was knowing, almost motherly. That, Serena, is your real father, the man who gave you life, the man who sacrificed everything to protect you. The world spun around Serena. Everything she thought she knew, everything she had fought for, suddenly felt like a lie. If the man she had destroyed wasn't her real father. Then who was she? What was she fighting for? "But my mother, she never told me," Serena choked out, tears streaming down her face. "She couldn't," Evangeline said softly. "He wouldn't let her. He controlled her every move, manipulated her every thought. She was trapped, just like you almost were." "He?" Serena asked, her voice trembling. "Who are you talking about?" Evangeline took a step closer, her eyes filled with a sorrowful intensity. "The one you think you defeated, Serena. The one you believe is gone. He's not dead, child. He's merely transcended. He's become something more, something far more dangerous." Serena stared at her, confusion and terror warring within her. "But I saw him die. I destroyed him with my own power." "You destroyed his physical form, yes," Evangeline said. "But you can't destroy what he truly is. He's an idea, a force, a presence that exists beyond this realm. And he's still connected to you, Serena. Through your blood, through your destiny." Evangeline raised her hand again, the one holding the dark energy, and Serena realized with horror what she was about to do. She wasn't going to attack Serena. She was going to use the energy to bring him back. "No!" Serena screamed, lunging forward, desperate to stop her. But it was too late. Evangeline unleashed the dark energy, and a swirling vortex of darkness erupted around them, engulfing the beach in an oppressive, suffocating void. The air crackled with power, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. And then, a voice Serena knew all too well. "Thank you, Evangeline," the voice said, echoing through the darkness. "You have done well. You have returned me to this world." The darkness began to coalesce, to take shape, and Serena watched in horror as a figure emerged from the void. It wasn't the man she had thought was her father. It was something else, something ancient, something evil. It was a being of pure darkness, its eyes glowing with an unholy light, its form shifting and swirling like a living nightmare. And as the being turned to face her, Serena realized the horrifying truth. She hadn't defeated him. She had merely unleashed him. And now he was here, stronger than ever, ready to claim what was rightfully his, ready to claim her. "Hello, Serena," the being said, its voice a chilling whisper that resonated deep within her soul. "I've been waiting a long time for this." The being reached out its hand, and Serena felt herself being drawn towards it, a helpless puppet caught in its invisible strings. She struggled, but it was no use. She was powerless against its might. And as she gazed into its eyes, Serena knew that everything had changed. The game was no longer about good versus evil. It was about survival. And she was the only one who could save herself. But how could she defeat a being that existed beyond the realm of mortal comprehension? How could she fight a darkness that was woven into the very fabric of her being? As the being drew closer, Serena closed her eyes, bracing herself for the inevitable. But then she remembered something Evangeline had said. "He's still connected to you, Serena, through your blood, through your destiny." And in that moment, Serena understood. She wasn't just connected to the darkness, she was also connected to the light, to the love, to the hope. She had the power to choose. She had the power to resist, and she wouldn't let the darkness win. She opened her eyes, her gaze locking with the being's, and she smiled. "You may have been waiting a long time for this," she said, her voice clear and strong. "But I've been waiting even longer." And with that, Serena unleashed her own power, a blinding wave of light that shattered the darkness and sent the being reeling back into the void. But as the light faded, Serena saw something that sent a shiver down her spine. The being wasn't gone. It was still there, lurking in the shadows, its eyes burning with an unholy fire. And this time, it wasn't alone. Standing beside it, their faces etched with hatred and betrayal, were Jake and her mother. Standing beside him, their faces etched with hatred and betrayal, were Jake and her mother. "No, no, this can't be happening," Serena gasped, backing away. You're supposed to be dead. I saw you die." Her mother stepped forward, her eyes cold and vacant. "Death is just a doorway, Serena, a doorway to greater things." Jake nodded, his face twisted into a sneer. "We were fools to think we could stop him. He's too powerful. But now we understand. He's the only one who can give us what we truly desire." "What do you want?" Serena cried, her voice shaking. "What could you possibly want that's worth this?" Her mother smiled, a chillingly unnatural smile. "Power, Serena, immortality, and revenge on those who wronged us." But I thought you loved me," Serena stammered, tears streaming down her face. "Love is a weakness," her mother hissed, "a weakness I can no longer afford." The being stepped forward, its eyes burning with an unholy light. "They are mine now, Serena. They have pledged their loyalty to me, and soon you will too." He reached out his hand, and Serena felt herself being pulled towards him, her will dissolving, her resistance crumbling. She wanted to scream, but no sound would come out. She was trapped, helpless, doomed. And then a voice that was both familiar and strange, a voice that seemed to echo from the depths of her soul. "Serena, look closer." She blinked, her vision clearing slightly. And then she saw it, a flicker, a glitch, a subtle distortion in the image of her mother and Jake. Their eyes, they weren't their eyes. They were empty, hollow, like puppets controlled by an unseen force. They weren't truly her mother and Jake. They were just illusions. And then the being made a mistake. He grinned, a wide, cruel, triumphant grin. And in that grin, Serena saw something else. A glint of metal, a tiny, almost imperceptible flash of silver. A filling. Her father, the man she thought she had destroyed, had always had a distinctive silver filling in one of his back molars. It was a detail she had noticed countless times, a small, insignificant quirk that she had never given a second thought. But now it was the key. The being wasn't an ancient entity, a transcendent force of darkness. He was just her father. Somehow, impossibly, he had survived. He had faked his death. He had manipulated Evangeline. He had used her own power against her, and he was still wearing that damn filling. Rage surged through Serena, a white-hot fury that burned away the fear and the doubt. She had been played, tricked, betrayed, but no more. She focused her will, channeling all her power, all her anger, all her love for the real people who had been stolen from her. And she struck, not at the being, not at the illusions of her mother and Jake, but at the filling. A single, concentrated burst of energy, targeted with pinpoint precision. The being screamed, clutching his jaw. The illusions flickered and vanished. And then, everything went black. When Serena opened her eyes, she was lying on the beach, alone. The darkness was gone. The being was gone. Evangeline was gone. Jake and her mother were nowhere to be seen. The only sound was the gentle lapping of the waves against the shore. Had it all been a dream? A hallucination? A twisted nightmare? She sat up, her body aching, her mind reeling. She didn't know what was real anymore. She didn't know who to trust. And then she saw it, lying in the sand, half buried beneath a pile of seaweed, was a small silver object, a filling. But it wasn't just any filling. It was the filling that had been in her father's mouth. Serena picked it up, her fingers trembling. It was warm, almost pulsating with a faint, residual energy. And then she noticed something else. Scratched into the surface of the filling, almost too small to see, were two tiny letters. E.V. Evangeline. A wave of nausea washed over Serena. What did it mean? Had Evangeline known all along? Had she been in league with her father? Had everything been a lie? Then, a glint of metal caught her eye. Barely visible beneath the sand a few feet away was another piece of metal. She frantically dug and pulled it free. Another filling. But this one was gold, and scratched into the surface were the initials J.B. Jake. The realization hit Serena like a physical blow. Her father hadn't been controlling them with magic or illusions. He had been using something else, something far more insidious, something that had been implanted in their teeth. He had been controlling them with technology, and if he could control Jake and her mother, who else could he be controlling? A cold dread washed over Serena. She had thought she was fighting a supernatural evil, a being from another realm. But what if she was wrong? What if the real enemy was far more mundane, far more terrifying? What if her father had been a scientist? What if he had been a genius? What if he had been building an army? She looked out at the ocean, the vast, unknowable expanse stretching out before her. She had thought the battle was over. She had thought she had won. But now, she knew the truth. The battle had just begun, and she had no idea who she was fighting, or how to stop them. Suddenly, a phone rang, buried beneath the sand. Not hers, his. It was a number she didn't recognize. Should she answer it? Suddenly, a phone rang, buried beneath the sand. Not hers, his. It was a number she didn't recognize. Should she answer it? Her head swam. What game was this now? Could it be a trap? Another lie waiting to spring? But what choice did she have? Every instinct screamed at her to run, to disappear, to start over. But something kept her rooted to the spot. The bodies, the secrets, the truth. It was buried here, under the sand and the lies. She snatched the phone, her hand shaking so badly. She almost dropped it. "Hello?" she croaked, her voice barely a whisper. Silence, just static. Then a voice. Deep, gravelly, familiar. "Serena," the voice said, and her blood ran cold. It was him. But not the him she just fought. Not the monster. This was different. Calmer. More controlled. "Dad?" she whispered, her voice trembling. A chuckle. A dry, humorless sound. "Almost, darling, almost. You're so close to understanding, so close to the truth." "What do you want?" she demanded, trying to sound braver than she felt. "What are you planning?" "Planning? Oh, Serena, I'm far beyond planning. I'm executing. And you, my dear, are playing a vital role." "I'll never help you," she spat, her voice filled with hate. "We'll see about that," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "Tell me, Serena, do you know what Project Nightingale is?" The name meant nothing to her. "I don't know what you're talking about." Another chuckle. "Of course you don't, but you will. It's our little family secret, and it's about to change the world." "I don't care about your secrets," she said, her voice shaking. "Just leave me alone." "Oh, Serena, you can't. Leave now. The show's just getting started, and you, my dear, have the starring role." He paused, and Serena could hear a faint beeping in the background, like a machine, or a... "Listen closely, Serena," he said, his voice suddenly urgent. "There's something you need to know, something about your real mother." Her breath hitched. Her real mother? What new layer of lies was this? "She wasn't who you thought she was," he said, his voice barely a whisper. She was one of them." "One of them? Who was them?" "She was a nightingale, Serena, just like you." The phone beeped again, louder this time. "I have to go," he said, his voice tinged with regret. "But remember, Serena, trust no one, especially Evangeline." The line went dead. Serena stood there, the phone clattering, to the sand, her head spinning. Nightingales? What the hell were nightingales? And what did her mother have to do with it? She had to find Evangeline. She had to get answers. But something told her that the answers she was looking for were far more dangerous than she could ever imagine. Then she looked down and saw a small metallic glint near the phone. A syringe. A syringe? Half buried in the sand? Serena's blood ran cold. He hadn't just called. He'd been here, watching, waiting, and he'd injected her with something. She felt a wave of dizziness wash over her, and her vision blurred. Her knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the sand, gasping for air. A voice echoed in her head, soft as a whisper. "Welcome home, Nightingale." And then, blackness. "Welcome home, Nightingale." And then, blackness. She woke up gasping, her head throbbing like a drum solo gone wrong. The beach, gone. The ocean, gone. She was in a room, small, sterile, cold, like a dentist's office designed by a robot, strapped to a table. Panic flared. Where was she? Then she saw him, standing in the corner, bathed in shadow. Not her father, not Jake. A woman, tall, elegant, with eyes that glittered like shattered glass. Evangeline. But different, younger, more powerful. "Welcome back, Serena," she said, her voice smooth as ice. "I trust you're feeling refreshed." Serena struggled against the restraints. "Let me go! What is this place? What did you do to me?" Evangeline chuckled. "Patience, child. All will be revealed in due time. But first, a little housekeeping. You see, your abilities are quite remarkable. But they're also untamed. We need to fix that." She gestured to a figure lurking in the shadows, a man in a white coat, a doctor. He stepped forward, holding a syringe. Serena's heart hammered against her ribs. "No, stay away from me," she screamed. "Don't be afraid, Serena," Evangeline said, her voice soothing. "This will only hurt for a moment, and when it's over, you'll finally understand your purpose." The doctor approached, and Serena thrashed against the straps, desperate to escape. But it was no use. She was trapped. The needle pricked her arm, and a wave of icy coldness spread through her veins. Her vision blurred, and she felt herself sinking into darkness. But this time, it wasn't just blackness. It was something more. Something alien. She saw things. Horrible things. Visions of blood and fire and twisted, broken bodies. Visions of a world consumed by darkness. And then she saw herself, standing at the center of it all, smiling. She cried out, trying to pull away, but the visions were too strong. They were inside her head, inside her blood, inside her soul. And then she understood. She wasn't a hero. She wasn't a savior. She was a weapon designed to destroy. The visions faded, and Serena gasped, her body drenched in sweat. She looked at Evangeline, her eyes filled with horror. "What have you done to me?" she whispered. Evangeline smiled, a triumphant smile that sent a shiver down Serena's spine. "I've shown you the truth, Serena," she said. "You are a nightingale, and it's time for you to sing." Suddenly, a piercing alarm shrieked through the room. Red lights flashed. Chaos erupted. "What's happening?" Evangeline hissed, her eyes narrowing. The doctor rushed to a console, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "We're under attack! The perimeter has been breached!" Attack? Who was attacking? Then the door to the room burst open, and a figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, a figure Serena thought she'd never see again. Jake. But it wasn't the Jake she remembered. This Jake was different, harder, more dangerous. He held a gun in his hand, and his eyes burned with a cold, steely determination. "Serena!" he shouted, his voice ringing with urgency. "Get out of here, now!" Evangeline's face contorted with rage. "Traitor!" she screamed. "I should have known!" Jake ignored her. He leveled his gun at the doctor and fired. The doctor crumpled to the ground. "Serena, I don't have time to explain," Jake said, his voice urgent. "Just trust me. We have to get you out of here." He rushed to the table and began to release her from the restraints. Serena stared at him, her mind reeling. What was happening? How had he survived? And why was he helping her? "But I saw you die," she stammered. "My father, he killed you." Jake's expression hardened. "He thought he did, but he underestimated me, and he underestimated you." He freed her from the last restraint, and Serena stumbled to her feet, her legs weak and shaky. "Come on," Jake said, grabbing her hand. "We have to go, now." He led her out of the room, down a long, dark corridor. The alarms were still blaring, and the sound of gunfire echoed through the building. As they ran, Serena couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. terribly wrong. Jake had saved her life, but she couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't telling her the whole truth. She looked at his face, searching for answers, and then she saw it. A flicker, a glitch, the subtle distortion in his expression. His eyes, they weren't his eyes. They were empty, hollow, like puppets controlled by an unseen force. And then Serena knew. It wasn't Jake. It was an illusion, a trick, a carefully crafted deception. Her father was still alive, and he was still in control. But what was even more terrifying was a quick glance down that showed him in black military-style boots. He hated boots. He liked work shoes. Her real Jake had told her so, as they'd laughed, as she'd sat hidden and watched him build that gazebo, something he'd only shared with her. The horror slammed into her like a tidal wave. Suddenly, and with crystal clarity, she knew who her real father was, who the bad guys actually were. And a guttural scream tore from her throat. It wasn't a cry of terror. It was a cry of realization. The syringe, it hadn't been to control her. It had been to awaken her. Now, finally, she was one of them. And it was Evangeline who was running out of time. She was one of them? The boot made contact with his face. Not the pretty boy she almost knew. This thing dissolved into dust. She ripped off the uniform, revealing clothes underneath she'd been wearing for weeks. Sarah was dead. Serena had a job to do. Evangeline. What had she done? What was Project Nightingale? The injection. Her brain felt like it was rewiring itself. She could feel it. Power surged. Not wild like before, but focused, controlled, coldly efficient. She knew what she had to do. First, the Nightingales. A name, a purpose, echoing in her blood. She could feel them, like a song on the radio, all over the world, waiting, sleeping, activated. Then, her real father. Who was he? What had he been building? And why had her life been a lie? She grabbed the phone. A new number flashed across the screen. A location. Coordinates. She knew where to go. She knew what to do. The injection had given her more than just power. It had given her instructions. One last look at the beach. A graveyard of dreams. No time for tears. The car was waiting. Sleek, black, driverless. She got in. Destination? The car's AI purred. Project Nightingale, she said, her voice flat. The car sped away, leaving the beach behind. Serena stared out the window, her face expressionless. But inside, a war was raging. A war between the girl she had been and the weapon she was becoming. And she had no idea which one would win. Years later, sipping a martini in Monte Carlo, Serena smiled. The world was better, safer. Her world, she thought, with just a hint of regret. Someone approached her. "Ma'am," he said. A coded message came through. "It's Project Evangeline." She said. "I thought that was settled." She smirked. "Activate the Phoenix Protocol." Evangeline? It wasn't over. And who activated her back on that beach? The world may never know. But what happens next, you absolutely need to see. You need to subscribe right now. Don't miss a single second of the next chapter. This is your only chance to be a part of the action from the very beginning. Smash that like button now. Feed the algorithm and show the world you're a true fan. We can only continue to bring you these amazing stories with your support. Flood the comments. What do you think? What happens next? Only you can help us piece together the mysteries left unsolved. Share this video with at least 5 friends right now. Don't let them miss out on this insane ending. The world needs to know. Don't wait another second. Only true fans will take these next steps to become part of this community. Do it now.